Radical! Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join the gnarly Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the totally tubular tools, advice, and strategies you need to achieve success, and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now on to this week's Totally Tubular Show.
Hello and welcome back to the Print on Demand Cast. We thank you for returning, for you return listeners, and for your first-time listeners. My name is Josiah, and I am joined with my co-host, Travis Ross. Travis, how's it going, man?
Going good. Good to be here with you. And back in snowy Colorado. I was going to say sunny, but it's not sunny.
Yeah,
today
sucked. You know, there's lots of. I was on my way to the shop and almost hydroplaned a handful of times, and it just the slush in the water. And I mean, it wasn't fun. It wasn't a good time. But we're all here. But you, however, were in much better favorable weather conditions over the weekend in Long Beach. And I know we have a lengthy main event to get to. And so tell us, like, how was it? And maybe we can get more long form, like, next week, so you can kind of really get into how it was. But overall, how was ISS?
First of all, great tease for next week's show. Second of all, it was great. Weather was nice. You know, it was very nice to be in a t-shirt in the middle of January, walking outside. Right. You know, Uncle Mike came, Mike Perlow he's been on the show many times, and then my son, my production manager, came, and it was. I'll tell you what, it was really fun being with him, watching him kind of come into his own as he was talking to different vendors and, you know, making connections. Was
this his first show?
This was.
Okay.
Yeah, this was his first trade show. I tried to take him to Energize back.
The UV show, right?
Yeah, the UV show. He got sick. And then several years ago, when he was kind of working part-time, the NBM show came to Denver. That's right. And I tried to talk him into going down there, but, you know, it wasn't part of his job, so he didn't have to, and he didn't. So, but no, it was good. We made a lot of good connections. Chris Kretz, who's one of our longtime listeners, he was there. We met him actually. Him and his wife. We got to shake their hand for the first time, meet him in person, and talked a little bit about the show. And we saw a lot of really cool things. I posted a lot in the Facebook group. So if you're not a member of the Facebook group, you head over there and join us, facebook.com/group/printondemandcast, and join that group. And you can see a lot of the pictures I took. There were some ridiculously cool displays, and just people using different printing techniques. I mean, there was this massive motorcycle that I took a picture of that was sitting. I mean, just it's like, what does motorcycles and print on demand have, or printing have anything to do with each other? Well, apparently it does.
Who knows? And
who knows?
It's cool. Yeah,
exactly.
It worked.
Overall,
you took a picture of it.
Yeah, overall, great experience. It was a good, we made some good connections that, yesterday, Tate and part of today, he was just going through business cards and making emails and just making connections and, just kind of following up, setting up accounts with vendors that we found for hats and for shirts and different things like that. Overall, great trip, really fun trip. Yeah. And still one of my favorite apparel trade shows that's out there is the ISS show in Long Beach every January.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Good to hear you. I saw a lot of the stuff you were sharing, and there's some cool stuff that looks like that's out there for sure. And we can get into it again, like I said, next week. Yeah, and I will say also you had a great weekend because the Kansas City Chiefs pulled out a win in a barn burner of a football game.
Great game.
It was probably one of the best professional football games I've ever watched in my life. Yeah. It was so good. But I know you were happy to see your guys come out the other side with a win in that such a hotly contested game. But I'm looking forward to the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes rivalry for years to come.
Many years to come.
It was very fun. Very fun.
Yeah. I do feel for our Bills, listeners.
Yeah,
I am sorry. Like if the Chiefs aren't in it, I'm totally rooting for Josh Allen. Love that guy.
Yeah.
I like the Bills. I like their kind of underdog mentality. How many years have the New England Patriots been on top of that division, and now they're finally, getting their due. And but yeah, this isn't an NFL podcast, and we already lost half of the Buffalo listeners. So let's
the Bills Mafia gave us the finger. On. They're out. They're not about it anymore. So yeah, let's move on. We have no point of interest because we have an interview, but we always have a weekly dad joke.
Time for the weekly dad joke.
So do you want to go ahead?
Let me do this one. Because I was actually telling you this earlier while we were in Long Beach. It was the craziest thing. You go and we had a really nice dinner. And then at the end of the night, after the dinner, the waiter came up and he said, you want to box for those leftovers? And I felt a little intimidated, but I decided to wrestle for them instead.
It's this week's weekly dad joke. And Travis won with an armbar, I think, is what I remember.
Yep, totally.
Those chicken strips went back to the hotel room. Anyway, so Travis, we have a interview for the first time in a while, and I think I referenced that as well. But it's with Tammie Chrin. Before we get into it, just real quick, how do you know Tammie, and what are you looking forward to our listeners learning through this interview?
Yeah, Tammie I met her on. I said TikTok. I remember when we were actually interviewing her, but it's not. It's Clubhouse, the audio only thing that. Back when I was doing that a lot, and we found out that we were both in Colorado, so we connected. And she does KDP, and she does it in a unique way. And I'm really excited for our listeners to kind of hear how she's leveraging the KDP platform. Which, if you're not familiar with KDP, it's Kindle Direct Publishing, but it's not just for the Kindle. The only reason that it still has KDP is that it's just been named that for so long, because now it's actual physical books. And if you've listened to any of our episodes with RJ or Chris Green, we've talked a lot about KDP, and Tammie has a little bit of a unique take on this. So I am genuinely excited for our listeners to hear what she's got to say.
Yeah, likewise. And so without further ado, to this week's main event, our interview with Tammie Chrin.
Ladies and gentlemen, the main event.
All right, Travis, for this week's main event, we have an interview, and I feel like we haven't had an interview in a while. This is long overdue to have another guest here on the show with us, and I'm very excited to have Tammie Chrin. And for those of you who don't know who Tammie is, just a little bit about her before we bring her on. Tammie and her husband have lived in Colorado since 2016. They moved from Sonoma, California, where she grew up and raised their daughter. And she has a sassy 9-year-old Boston Terrier, and his name is Bob Barker. And I have so many questions about why she says that. Is it because he's barking? Is it because he resembles the legendary game show host? Many questions that will be asked. But Tammie has discovered a way to leverage Amazon Print on Demand, specifically KDP, for business to business. So very excited. KDP is a subject that I'm always interested to learn more about. So I'm very happy to have Tammie Chrin join us here on the Print on Demand cast. Tammie, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's very, very exciting and nice to share this KDP for B2B with your audience. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Before we go, before we get going, I should say, I got to ask why the name fits the Bob Barker. Is it because he barks a lot, or?
That's exactly the reason, because he barks too much. And I thought, I just started calling him Bob Barker. I mean, it's like, that's a classic name right there, Bob Barker. Yeah. And I don't know why more people don't call their dogs Bob Barker, but
I like it.
His real name is Bochy, and it's Bruce Bochy, the San Francisco Giants coach name, but no one out in Colorado here knows who Bochy is, because we're now Rockies fans as well.
Sure.
So, so I call him Bob Barker here in Colorado.
Oh, okay. Well, has he had any conflict in an identity crisis type thing? You didn't know which one
So
he
far, so good.
responds
He's
to?
still
Okay.
he still doesn't respond to anything, so it's pretty easy.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, Tammie actually visited our shop a couple months ago and
Yeah.
came down and hung out for, I don't know, an hour or so, and got a little tour, and we talked all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah.
I also did some products for your daughter's wedding, which
Yeah,
was
you
really
did.
cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it was great.
yeah, so I have a little bit of Tammie's just up the road in Fort Collins area, or I'm sorry, Loveland area,
Mhm.
Right.
and
yeah.
probably what 45 minutes from both
Yeah,
of
the
us. So
most. Yeah, the
yeah,
most.
we met
Yeah.
each other on TikTok, or not TikTok.
No,
We met
Clubhouse.
each other on TikTok.
Clubhouse.
Club. We
We
met
were
each
doing
other
our
on
dance.
You're
Clubhouse.
We were
doing the
doing
TikTok dances. Yes. This is the origin story we've been waiting for.
Yeah, when we met each other, it was so funny because we were like, oh, we're both in Colorado, and I think you reached out to me,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
yeah. So we've connected and heard a little bit about your business, but it's great to have you on and
Thank you.
learn a
Thank you.
little bit more. So why don't we start off with you just telling us kind of your print on demand story, how you got into print on demand, and we might ask some follow-up questions, but
Sure.
we'll start there.
Yeah. So, we've been in the Amazon business, my husband and I, for a while, since 2014. And I got into the KDP side of the business. That's Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing. And I started creating the low content books, like a lot of people, with line journals and notebooks and all those kind of things. And I put them up online. And I was super excited when, I love still seeing people post I've published my first book, and they're all excited, which I did the same thing. I was super excited. And then, I'm trying to get all the keywords and do all the things. So I get all these sales, and I'm waiting and nothing happened. I sold one book, and it was my sister. My sister bought it.
Nice.
I found out. So it was a little exciting and disappointing at the same time. So,
Sure.
It was a learning process with the KDP platform, and I really enjoyed the creativity side of it, but I was also hoping to make it into a full-time business. I had my Amazon, retail business going, but I also wanted to get this book business going. So as I was playing around with it and kept trying to sell these books, and I have to say, I'm not a graphic designer, so, it wasn't like they were the most beautiful books, but I thought for sure I could work a way to, sell something. And I just didn't make the money that I thought I would make. So I kind of just was talking to my husband. I was kind of thinking about it, and I really wanted to keep doing KDP, but I had to just think outside the box, where I like to say outside the book, and think about how this was going to be, that I could generate money. And so I started thinking about my background. I've owned a business and for a brick and mortar business for quite a while. And I knew business owners didn't know about KDP. So I thought if I could just take that same model, create branded booklets and use them for their business, and then put it under my KDP account, I could make royalties by directing their traffic. I wouldn't have to create the traffic or the keywords or any marketing for myself, because they would direct traffic right to those books. So that's it in kind of a short nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So I know you, when we got your kind of your bio, one of the things it said was that you were remembering back to when you had a brick and mortar, and you would have loved to have had KDP for, back then. So I'm curious, can you share a little story? Like, what were you doing back with your brick and mortar? What was the business? How would KDP have helped you back then?
Yeah. So, basically, I opened a hair salon, full service salon, in Sonoma, California, when I was 22, and that was my first business I ever owned. And I was just, hustling. We had lots of employees and building this business and doing all those things. And the reason that the light bulb went on for me with KDP isn't necessarily the salon. When, you could create different branded booklets for salons, and there's ways we thought about doing that, either like puzzle books for the clients to do something while they're waiting for the hair to get colored and those kind of things. But what was really the key point to this for me for owning a business was that I was busy. I was busy doing my craft and running my business. So I didn't have time to, do any marketing materials and put these books together. Because that's kind of one of the questions that comes up is, why doesn't the business owner just do their own books? Well, there's a bit of a learning curve to KDP, but they don't have the time. And when I thought about that, they don't have the time. They don't want another job. They don't want another skill. They're already working their business. So if I offered this service to any other businesses and I'll tell you a little bit later about what the businesses, then we could create it for them. And then I could, create a setup fee to set up their books and get their books up online. That's all they want. They just want to get the book. They didn't care about how to do KDP. Is there some people? Yes, but that was basically it. So the salon my thought was, I knew how busy I was running my own business. I thought, how can I serve businesses and make it easy for them to get these marketing materials? And then I found out they don't even really know about this service at all. Most businesses I've talked to have no idea that Amazon KDP is available to them.
Yeah, this is awesome. And I was telling Travis this before, we pressed record and before you joined us, just reading over your intro that you sent us. The business model you're doing is something that we've leveraged as far as What For Apparel, where we're doing influencer marketing, where we reach out to influencers who do not have the time to have their own merch produced, or they don't know where to go. They don't know. They don't know what print on demand means. They're excited to hear that there's a thing they can do that doesn't require them to invest in 200 t-shirts, and then they're sitting on 175 of them, for the next 3 years. So the reason we got into it as well is because the lion's share of marketing is on them, because they already have those, they're bringing their following with them. So it's really cool to see that same model being utilized, but in your instance using KDP, because I think it's genius, and it's something that KDP I don't think I've thought of before, like you said, thinking outside the book, which I think is awesome. I think you need a t-shirt that says that.
Travis, I need a t-shirt.
I think I know some people that can get us get you some merch. But I think it's a really, really awesome approach and how to implement KDP.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was something that, like I said, you kind of sit back and go, how can I use the same model but redirect it? And I just tried it, and it just took off. And so that's what it's been fun. It's really been a fun way to do it.
We were talking a little bit beforehand, before we pressed record, and you were talking to us a little bit about KDP and the advantages. But one of my questions that I have stemmed from that short conversation before we pressed record is, are there other POD book platforms out there? And if there are, what is the advantage that KDP has over them in your experience that lends you to keep using KDP as opposed to looking at other solutions?
Yeah, that's I get that question quite often in from other, even from business owners, like, well, I've used, other printers, or, I go to Staples and have it done, and and other printers. And I think printing companies are great. The key to this whole thing is we're going to businesses and creating these booklets, and maybe they have a course or they have a class that they share. So they need to get these books out to their clients. And what Amazon has and does well is shipping. Shipping is they're really still, I feel, the best in the market. It only takes, when I do a book, it only takes 2 days to get it shipped out to any of the clients.
It's incredible.
Then, I mean, that's huge. That's huge. And we have my businesses have clients all over the world. So you need to have a platform that can handle that. And they have printers all over. So so they can still get, it's like 2 to 3 days usually is the average. And then the other thing that Amazon has is that we can correct the mistakes. So I noticed, this was another business thing that I learned when I was running the salon, was I would get marketing material and say a phone number or an email would change. Now I have a stack of those books or pamphlets or whatever I have. And I have to put the email with a little white sticker over, and I'm dating myself a little bit, but
looks so professional.
Like I changed my address, my name. So that was another reason that the KDP platforms worked really well. So when I have a client or my students have clients, they can just make the updates very quickly, and it only takes about 72 hours for it to regenerate on Amazon to get those books. So they only have to buy what they need. So say you have a class and you have 100 people in that class, they just send out 100 books to right off of their site, and they get sent to all of them. So the business owner does not have to take the book, put it in an envelope, go to, get the label, take it to the post office. That's a lot of time. And that was the other reason I thought of this model was, how do I save time for the business owners? How do I make this a win for them? Well, that saves them so much time. And if you can save a business owner time and obviously money, they're super happy to have you do it. So it was, and so we do go off to other printers sometimes because Amazon only has the paper covers and the hardcover now. If they had spiral, we probably would never have to go to a printer because some people do want a spiral cover. And so we'll have the printed version, but then we always find the customers or the business owners are very like, oh, then they have to make that same investment. They have to put, you can only have so many books, and KDP will do one at a time. That's amazing. I think I found about 25 books. One, that was the lowest printing. And I understand for printers, it's a lot of setup and time. So that is a big part of it. So it's shipping, time and money for the business owner, and they can make changes quickly. And it serves a lot of businesses very well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's a lot of the same correlation, again, going to direct to garment to screen printing when you're discussing with people the differences, right, of why it's more advantageous. There's not a lot of setup fee. Again, you're not sitting on 175 shirts,
right,
all of that.
Right. Yeah, it's the same principle. And matter of fact, even when that happens, I've talked to Travis about this quite a bit too, is we have a lot of people who, they build that trust with us and the business, and then my students and business owners, and they want t-shirts and mugs and all the other merchandise that you guys have. And then I'm able to, get that done for them too. So
yeah. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Let's hear kind of like, how are you doing this? What's your kind of, just tell us, maybe give us a story about, a client, or kind of walk us through how you onboard somebody or how you are serving them. We'd love to hear, some stories about the way you're leveraging KDP for businesses.
Yeah. So I'll give you one. So 2 years ago, because I keep forgetting what year it is now, because I feel like it's like, did we skip a year? Because I guess it'd be almost 3 years ago now. I started going out to business owners just to see if this model was going to be a fit for me personally. And then I got into teaching. So we'll talk about that later. But I'll tell you what I did in the beginning and still do today. I was on a fitness journey. So I wanted to get into shape and all those, going to the gyms, got a nutritionist. And when I went to a lady for Mind Body Revolution, which is her company, I signed up for her course and I wanted to do it. And it was here in Colorado, but she had it all online as well. And I went in and signed up, and she gave me all the, scoop. And then she handed me a 3-ring binder. This is the exact one I got. And it had her whole program in, and you can see it's kind of, she did a good job and everything, but the light bulb went on with the KDP. I'm just sitting there. I could barely speak. I could barely be quiet. I'm like, just tell me more about your business and let's get on. I got something to tell you. So I talked to her about elevating her style. She's a beautiful woman. She has these great, everything. Her whole business is just, very well done. Her websites, all her marketing material. But this was like, didn't fit her. So I said, what if we created a branded booklet with your course inside, and we put it in a nice, beautiful cover like this?
Yeah, looks great.
And that's a little better than this, if I say so myself. And then, we could give you, we could brand it, have your information on it. We took the exact same. She did not want one thing changed in this from this book. So from a photocopy kind of look that she has here to this, so we just took her information, and now she has this course, and about every 3 months or so, she signs everybody up, and then her assistant just sends these booklets out to her clients, and they actually have a physical book to use.
Yeah.
So it's nice, and it's not, it just elevated her style so much with this.
Yeah.
And she was so excited and so happy to have this. So that was one of my first businesses that I thought she had no idea that was available. She didn't want to get into to all the cost of printing. That was her big things. How you're going to have all these. Her course was kind of changing and evolving. So when I mentioned that to her, that we can update it as it goes, because it's easy. It's easy to do, but I do make it. It's not easy when you don't know how, but it's easy when you do know how. So anyway, so I did that. And then the second one was actually this book here. And I went to, Anytime Fitness, which is a fitness company, franchise basically. And I was working out there, and I knew, I talked to the owner a few times, and I asked him, kind of watched around looking at people. Everyone's filling out trackers, and you think they would be doing it all online, which a lot of it is, but I noticed a lot of people like to write it down. So in the gym, I was looking in the gym, and everybody was tracking their weights and time on the machines and all their tracking things. So I asked the owner, I said, I've noticed a lot of people tracking. Does Anytime Fitness have a tracking journal, a progress journal? And he goes, no, they don't. I actually just printed a piece of paper off, and I'll go around with my new clients and walk them through the machines. And I thought, really? So I showed him just a few of my books that I had. They weren't even, anything to do with the gym, but just to show him a physical book. And I showed him, I said, what if we came up with an idea that we put all of your machines and pictures? We were able to we were able to use the photos and stuff. You have to get permissions from all of these things, but we were able to do that. He's a franchise, so he was able to use logos and everything that was there. And he said, I've thought about it for years to create a tracker for my business. He had 3 different books. He's like, these are the 3 books I like, so we sat down and just figured out what would be a good way to track for his business. And then the beauty of this isn't Anytime Fitness. So this isn't just one business for me. This is multiple businesses. So that was another one that kind of like, I thought, that's a good way to do it. Then I got, then it's like t-shirts and this and that. So then the other one that we talked about is when they have a challenge, just do a challenge booklet. They buy into the challenge. The booklet comes with it. They buy it. It's done. So there's a lot. That was my second book that I did. And that one seemed to, kind of be like, there's something here. There's something here. And then he sent me to all these other franchisees he knew. So that was another bonus.
That's huge. I mean, as you're saying that, I'm like, oh my gosh, because I've been, thinking about trying to figure out how can we get it, kind of get our name out there to even, like larger businesses, the mom and pops are great, but what about the people that need lots and lots of things, lots and lots of times,
consistently, right?
And I think if you can identify, franchises, all of those franchisees know all of the other franchisee owners. And so if you get a
Mhm.
great product in the hands of one, there's a
Yep.
good chance you can leverage that into, being able to provide that service or that product to all of those other franchisees. That's a really cool thing, Tammie.
Yeah.
That's a golden
Thank
nugget
you.
for me in particular, but I think for our
Good,
listeners
good.
too.
Yeah. I think that, as I got more into this, I realized the types of businesses that I wanted to go for. And it was like realtors were another one that I really, really like
Mhm.
because we just did a getting ready to sell your home. So this would be a booklet that you would give someone
Hmm.
instead of just a business card, you give
Hmm.
them a
Yeah.
a checklist to get their home ready to sell. Well, guess whose name's on it? Guess whose pictures on it?
Yep.
People don't tend to throw books away. They tend to throw business cards or misplaced business cards.
Yep.
So
Sure.
so I went for that market as well. And how many realtors so we all know. And
Right.
they love
Yeah.
gifts for their clients. How many of those magnets we get on our refrigerators? Well,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
great. But having something to give as a gift in a sense, because now they can have little check off boxes
Yeah.
and check off like what they need to do to be prepared to sell their home.
It's a gift and it's a resource, right? So it's a gift
Yeah, it's
that
like a
that
gift and a
provides
resource.
actual value to where it's like, oh man, this does have a
Yeah.
checklist that I need to see. And then when they check those boxes and they close the book, the realtor's face is literally staring at them, and
Right
so you're
there,
like,
yeah.
oh, I guess I'll call this person because I completed the checklist. So that's a really, really cool way to be front of mind and still
Yeah,
have
so that
info for them to contact you at a later time.
yeah, and we have different booklets for the realtor,
Mhm.
when they sell the home, when they're getting ready to sell the home,
Yep.
one when they're a maintenance checklist, something to maintain the home. And we did it for 5 years because that's usually when people sell,
Yeah.
they sell a house in 5 years. Well, they're keeping that book. Okay, I changed the furnace filter this
Yep.
date. They pull it out every 6 months to do their check off. And then they're ready to sell their home. And, 5 years,
Yeah.
they still have that book, or, I mean, I know myself is like, where's that business card at? I can't find it
Sure.
anymore. And what is, as a woman, is like, what handbag do I put it in? I don't know. Like I'm scrounging, like, what one did I use and what year?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So
That's fun.
that's the other thing. And then I just want to show one more is this is a lady online that has a therapist company, and it's I owe me like a wellness company and all that.
Mm.
But what we do is we put the QR codes on her books too. We put them on everybody's
Yeah.
books now, but the QR code has been fantastic. It directs them right to her website.
Yeah.
They can buy more journals if they want to,
Yep.
Mhm.
and go to her site very easily.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And then the coolest thing, I remember learning this from, Chris Green. That QR code shows up in the listing on KDP. So literally, they don't even have to buy the book, and they still can scan the QR code
Yep.
on Amazon and go to the website. So there's a
Yeah,
lot of free
the QR
marketing.
code. The QR code is, I mean, it's been around for so long, but I tell you, it with COVID, it regenerated itself, I
Yeah.
think, and
Yeah.
it's unlimited, and especially with like the gym booklet. QR codes can be sent to a video. So if you're doing a little training, you want to show them a little training video,
Mm.
they could scan that and go to a video. And I think
Wow.
those, any of my coaches or trainers, that's a great way to use them
Oh,
for
Yeah.
training, or if you're into skateboarding, you want to learn tricks and just show a little clip, and
Yeah.
that works well.
That's incredible. So at what point then, as you are kind of, pioneering this idea and finding proof of concept, right, that this business model idea is actually gaining traction, at what point did you decide to create a course around what you were discovering, what you were doing that would empower others to kind of be able to do the same thing?
Yeah, so that kind of came up fairly quickly because
Mhm.
as I was in my KDP groups, when you on Facebook and all those other ones, and I was so excited to kind of come up with this way to make a revenue stream, a reoccurring revenue stream with KDP, and to get paid to be, set up the book. I started sharing that with people, and they kept asking me so many questions. And it was it's not something I can just put into a quick little, discussion, all the details that needed to be done. So we just created a course that has 60 modules that will just take you and accelerate it from brand new at KDP, never opened an account, but all the biggest piece of the course is really how to charge and how to, what to charge and how to charge and reaching out, how to reach out to the businesses and what's that look like and how to get all that set up. And so that's the biggest piece of the course is really approaching businesses, reoccurring business, like I just told you guys about with Anytime Fitness, how to do that, what to do, how to set it up. And so I did it mainly because I had so many people think this was a great model, but I can't explain it in one breath. It's more to it, but once you get it, and that's why I put the course together, because it just accelerates them. Like they just want to know now and tell me I've worked out all the details and I've done it and I've been doing it. And so it was an easier way to break it down into smaller steps for the people. And that's kind of how it all started. It was just a fluke where I was just saying it, telling, how it's fun to share what you're doing. And it's like, okay. And, everyone's like, I'm not making any money on KDP. Do my books start selling? Why aren't they selling? And that's not, everybody, some people do sell a lot of books. There is a market for it, but it's just, I just thought, this has to go faster. This is taking way too long. And I got a little like, so then I started sharing. And then once you started sharing, it's like, tell me more. And how did you do it? And I just could not get it out. Like I said, there's just so many pieces that I've learned. And so I put it in a course, and that way people can do that.
That's awesome. Well, definitely. We're going to talk about more about your course and like some of the things that you offer at the end of the podcast. I want to jump into a couple other questions, and then we'll go into the magic questions. But I also know we've been talking a lot on the podcast about working with family. And I asked you before, your husband, Rob, does he work on the business? And you said he doesn't work on the business, but he does work in the other room. And so he's still working on Amazon and your Amazon business. And so you guys are kind of both in the same area all the time. I'm just curious, how is it working with family? And, how has that been, just with him right across the hall.
Right across the hall. That's about it. Yeah. So we've been married quite a few years, about 32 years. So it's quite a while. Congrats. And thank you. I'm really proud of that. And we've owned our own business, even knowing it was a salon. Rob did a lot of the background work with either marketing or the financials. And there's a lot, as any business, there's more to it than just running the front end. The back end was a lot of work, and he was able to help me with that. So then he always had a corporate job, and as we got into the Amazon space, then we got him out of his corporate job. And so we work every day, but it's amazing how we work on their businesses, but we're kind of like doing our own thing, and he's in one room, I'm in another. So the only time he always puts, this is his little trick, if he doesn't want me to bug him, which I tend to like to do, is he'll put the little thing, do not disturb tag on the door. I'm like, oh my gosh. So yes, that's what he does when he doesn't want me to enter his space. That's funny. But we laugh. We have a good time. We laugh a lot.
That's great.
We bounce stuff off of each other. I would highly recommend. I absolutely love it. We're not together as much as people would think you are because we're busy doing our businesses. But I just feel so grateful for him to be home and around, because there were so many years that we were both working at different places and then coming home really fast to talk. Now we, have lunch together, and we, have conversations. We love business. We have a lot of conversations around our businesses and get excited for each other. Yeah. And he's, cheering each other on and or picking each other up maybe when it didn't go like you expected. And it's just something I very grateful that we both do together.
Well, you've obviously done it for a long time. In various different ways with him being part of the salon and all of that. So you probably figured out how to do it to where now it's a little more natural than maybe it would have been 30 years ago.
Yes. Yeah. We've definitely learned a lot about each other's quirks, which we all have them. And, is there some days that are not as like, you're frustrated with your business and someone comes in and you're like, ah. But
Yeah.
overall, it's a blessing. And
Sure.
it's something that, I wouldn't trade for anything. I mean, to spend more time with him and if I have questions and I can't figure it out, he's right there. And same, I try to support him as well. But like we said, we laugh a lot because there's some things. Sometimes he comes into my space and starts talking, and I'm like, "Hey, you're talking too much today."
Yeah, you need your own
Which
do
is
not disturb tag.
I need to tag because my space doesn't have a door, so he'll just come in but we just laugh about it, and it's it's just
That's
all
cool.
fun. I mean, nothing better than being able to be home together.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. So where do you see things in if you were to like kind of forecast and dream a little bit, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Yeah, I guess that's the question. I was trying to decorate it, but that's just the question.
That's it.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, with the business side of it, the biggest thing that the both of us have done over the years is creating a business that we can, share and serve with other people and give the most value we can, but also create a lifestyle. And that lifestyle includes, just having the flexibility of time. It's not always that way when you own a business. I think people think they're going to have so much freedom, but it really,
yes, they do.
Yeah, I thought that at 22. I thought I was going to build that empire and just be living large.
Be set.
But I'd be set. But that was I was in the trenches, learning the business, learning how to handle employees, learning how to handle many things. But in 5 years, my thought is, to be able to serve people in the best way I can with KDP for B2B, because that would be their own business, and to see them flourish. And, the biggest thing is just, it excites me. I don't want to retire. I want to always be working and learning. And so I think we're very fortunate to be in a time and space where we can have these conversations online. I have friends now from all over the world, which I never would have. I have people that I wouldn't live right down the street, like, like Travis, but we still can connect this way. And so I think that in 5 years, I'd love to see this business expand and help many more people, and show them that they can really do this. I think the pandemic really made people realize they can do things online. There can be a business model that they can make income streams with. So I really want to share that with the public and the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a good 5-year plan. I like it.
Like it? So I'm not retiring. So
we'll set a date now that we'll just follow up with you in 5 years.
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds great. I'll be there. I'll be there.
That's awesome. Well, Travis, should we transition to the magic questions? Should I play the bumper?
Yes, play the bumper.
Well, here we go into the magic questions.
So beautiful.
Yeah, it's
so amazing.
So good. And totally not IP infringement at all. Very exciting. Okay.
No
anyway, so these questions, Tammie, are ones that we kind of have that we ask every guest here, and we'll just kind of pick and choose from here. So I'll have Travis go with the first magic question. We'll probably do 3. So Travis.
First magic question. Tell us about a time when something happened in your business that felt like a failure.
I don't think we have enough time for all those.
I just went one. Just one. Well, we've heard a lot of cool stories about, the Anytime Fitness and all of that. I thought I'm gonna ask about something that didn't go perfect.
Yeah, I think that that's great to share with the audience, because it is not, it's never all perfect. It's always, things are pivoting, things are changing. But I would say the biggest thing is not a graphic designer. And I've failed a lot on covers. And so And so I think that that's been one of the things that were one of my learning was that it's okay to do everything imperfect. And I don't claim to be a graphic designer. I don't claim to be that, but I'm able to make this work without even having a design background. Or I just like people to say, just try something. Is it hard at first? Yes. Anything you start is harder. But do you fail a lot? I think failures are things that you just learn from and move on. You just can't get stuck in the failure.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep. I always reference this Winston Churchill quote every time, frequently, not every time, but he says that success is moving from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm.
Yep.
So, and failures are oftentimes some of the biggest teachers, because you do learn things from your successes, but there's always more to learn from it when something doesn't go the way you want it to. There's always more of a learning process.
Well, I guess you could take my KDP story where I really kind of didn't, I didn't excel in low content books, just throwing them up onto Amazon. Right. So that failure, in a sense, made me step back and think, all right, there must be a different way. Sure. And so that's where I always think people can just take even what I'm teaching or telling is like, there's another level of it and there's another way to go. There's so much opportunity out there that don't just get stuck by that roadblock because that was the failure that that's the difference between failing and moving forward is look at it differently. And a lot of times you come up with that golden nugget, like you said.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So as you've been going in your not just your POD journey, I'm not going to limit it to that, but just in your entrepreneurial journey as a whole, who is someone that you have looked up to, or someone that's been a mentor, and how important has that kind of mentor relationship been in your journey as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's a great question too, and there's so many people really, but I think I'll just narrow it down to two women in my life, my grandmother and my mother, who both were entrepreneurs in their own right. And my grandmother actually worked for Bank of America and in San Francisco, and was one of the first VIP presidents of Bank of America in San Francisco in the 80s. And I always looked at her as, wow, that's a, she came from a teller at the window at 30 years old to working her way up into a position of running her branches and things like that. So, and then when I went into the salon business, I partnered up with my mom. She had been a cosmetologist years back. So she ran the desk and did all the stuff. So I learned so much from her and looked up to her so much. That's and awesome. It's my family and friends. And the two ladies in my life were really the business entrepreneurs that I just kept lifting me up to excelling and being my best.
That's awesome. That's really, that's really inspiring. Okay. So last magic question. If you had to start all over and lost all of your current contacts, all of your customers, all of your contacts, didn't have anything except for what's in your head, what would you do first? But you still wanted to do the business. You still wanted to do KDP. What would you do first?
First, I would cry. I'd have my full-on meltdown and cry. Just be honest with you. That's what would happen. And then I would, go through my whole little misery and poor me. And then I'd pull myself back up and I would just, I always find I've already done this repeatedly. I have learned to have confidence in myself that I can do it again. So I would definitely just be, going out to businesses again and keep that going and talking to you guys and sharing what I do and build up again. Sometimes that happens where you lose everything and you have to start from scratch. And I think it would just be, do it again. Just make it better.
Yeah.
Yeah. What, speaking of that, I'm just curious, what would you change, or would you change anything? Or do you think you just kind of pick, about your process, about, just things that maybe you wouldn't make the same mistakes that you made in the past?
Well, I definitely think I would, think about what was the problem, what happened, whether it be, something happened to your website, Facebook, all your social media goes away, or, I think that I would have to just look at those problems and see if I could pivot from those problems that maybe happened. And but like I said, just kind of just you just have to move forward. You can't get stuck in the misery of it. And I think a lot of people get stuck in the misery of it, if that answered your question.
Yeah, sure. No, I think, I mean, if you've got a good system and kind of how it works and it is working, I think you can pick up, kind of right where you left off. If
I don't think, I mean, even if anything failed, if everything went down, I could even go to printers, say Amazon closed. I mean, that'd be crazy. But if Amazon ended and my business still will go around and go to printers and have the same thing, would it, the delivery service be as quick? No, but you got to do what you got to do. If Amazon's gone, it's gone. So I definitely would pick that. I mean, I always do all kinds of systems to have in place in case of something going, but I think everybody, I think the biggest lesson was COVID. I did my business model at first was based on going to businesses in person. And then it pivoted to online. And I have to say that was actually a blessing in disguise because more people got onto Zoom. More people were getting comfortable with how to get online. So the business owners, and they wanted to know, how do I get, my stuff out to people and this, that, and realtors were booming at the time. And so, but they were okay about going online and doing a Zoom call or a StreamYard or whatever your platform is. It took the before they'd be like, can you just come by the office? Can you just come by? So then I started teaching people how to do more online businesses, all the workshops that people have, they need a workbook, how do you do that? So it really, that was, I guess, one of the things that happened. And it was literally right when we created the course that changed. So we just pivoted and had to do it. Had to look at the model and how is it going to fit now? Why we're in lockdown.
Sure. Speaking of the course, tell us a little bit about that. I know we've touched on it a little bit, but it's KDP for B2B. The number 4, it's right there in the name plate there that you have, and how people can connect with you. Social media, anywhere that people can find you and connect with you.
Yeah. So the way it's called Kindle Direct Publishing, we're business to business. If everybody doesn't know what that acronym is, I know it's long, but and we use print on demand a lot. We toss these words and POD and all those things.
Yeah, exactly.
So I KDP for B2B was kind of a good fit at the time, but it's such a long name. But and so they can, you guys can go to Tammie Chrin .com that will lead you to the courses and I have templates and all kinds of things to help you with running your KDP for B2B business. So if you need a partnership agreement, we have that lined up for you. If you need templates for businesses and you don't know how to do that, you can just buy the template and you can upload it and change it and move it around. We have calculators, and it sounds kind of crazy, KDP calculator, but it's not just a calculator to find out what the royalties are. It's actually to find out if the customer business wants to change from color ink to black and white ink, how many pages. You can put all that in, but it also you can put a royalty. If the business wants to make a royalty, you want to make a royalty, you just plug it in and boom, it'll come up with your prices. That happens a lot when you're with business owners. They start firing off like, how much is this going to cost? How much is this going to cost? And so we created my husband created a calculator for just KDP for B2B so that you could look at the numbers very quickly.
That's awesome.
That's cool. Yeah. So TammieChrin.com, and that's TammieChrin.com. And that's probably the best place to.
That's the website. Yeah,
that's the website. It has all your stuff.
It'll have all my stuff on there, plus all our social medias on there as well. Okay. So we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on all the groups there. So if you just go to the website, you'll have all the information and contacts.
Okay. And we have our website's still down. You were generous enough to give us to offer us an affiliate. If somebody does actually want to purchase the course and they want to go through our affiliate, it's going to be printondemandcast.com/Tammie, and it's TAMMIE. If it's not working, just go back to TammieChrin.com and get it there if you really want it.
And or just tag it too. If you tag it, I'll know. Like, just put something in there that
there you
saw me on Print on Demand Cast, and we'll take care of you guys.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know. Tammie's just such a sweet person. I mean, every time I talk to you, I just feel good because you just carry yourself so in such a kind way. You have a kind heart, and I know you really want to help people. I know we've been trying to. Well, it's really been me that has drug my feet getting you on the Print on Demand Cast, because we've talked about it for months and months and months. But it's so great to finally have you on here and sharing this really unique way to make money with KDP. It's really cool. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Tammie.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. And if anybody has questions, I know we kind of threw a lot of stuff at you, and, please feel free to reach out to me any way you want, and we can, discuss it more. And I think the pleasure I get is just sharing this business model with everybody, and I love seeing the success when someone takes that and runs with it, which I have students that are doing that now. And it just is that's the part that warms my heart. So
that's awesome. Well, like Travis said, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join us. It was great meeting you, and I look forward to maybe meeting you in person if you ever come this direction again. I'll be sure.
Yeah, I'd love to come back down. It was great to see Travis's place and
absolutely,
and how everything's kind of done, and on the inside, it was fantastic. You guys got something going for sure.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Tammie. We'll see you. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Well, we want to thank Tammie again for taking time out of her schedule to sit down with us and share a really, really awesome, like she said, thinking outside of the book way of using KDP. I for sure, we always talk about this being the first listener on stuff like this, but it definitely gives me a lot of ideas, because I have a fascination with KDP. I don't know it yet, so I might actually lean into it more, especially if she has that course. But what did you think of the interview, man? I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in the intro, I was very excited for them to hear the unique take that she has on KDP, and it is very unique. I mean, I thought it was really cool, that you were pointing out how it's very similar to what you guys at What For Apparel have been doing with influencers and with, apparel for influencers. Yep. It's kind of the same type of thing. And being that, I mean, back in the day, not a lot of people know this, but I used to sell print supplies, and believe it or not, credit card machines, door to door, business to business. And so we would, business cards, flyers, all of that stuff, like literal physical print supplies. And then also, their processing and stuff. I remember going into each one of those businesses, and, I'm thinking now, it would have been so cool to be able to say, hey, it's all of these things that I'm trying to tell you that your business needs. It's all available on Amazon once you sign up for us. I have this massive company, behind me that everyone knows. I think that's kind of a feather in her cap as she's talking to these business owners.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. It was the similarities were awesome. Like you said, from what we've been doing and how she's been able to leverage KDP, and landing something like Anytime Fitness is such a huge get.
That's so cool.
Even if it's just, you can't, maybe it's not the whole, company, but it's just the ones in your state. Okay.
Okay.
Sure. How many is that? 10, 15? You've got yourself a deal. It's just really, really unique way. And I think it's awesome, because for those of you listening that are wanting to get into KDP, I would definitely advise this, is a way to approach it that will help you start generating sales. Because again, the idea being that if the business has the demand for the product, then you've already got the customers built in once you just get them on board. And she has a course, and of course, again, the website's down, and we'll be working on rebuilding a site, and we'll rebuild it better. But the link will be printondemandcast.com/Tammie, or you can go to TammieChrin.com and sign up for the course. And she said you can kind of leave a note there that you heard her on the Print on Demand cast. And so it'll be just a way to gain yourself some knowledge and also support the show at the same time. But one thing she did say that we can mention about the course kind of in this portion of the outro, it's a self-paced 16 model KDP for B2B, again, Kindle Direct Publishing for business to business course to accelerate your business. They have customizable printable business templates, customizable partnership agreements, which I think is awesome because a lot of the times you're like, I don't really like having that kind of stuff, even for the apparel side of that. I think it's huge. It's a challenge because is it a contract? Is it month to month? What is it? What do you want it to be? Outlining that. So the partnership agreement availability is awesome. The calculator is really cool to figure out the cost of booklets kind of on the fly as business owners are kind of talking to us. She referenced at the end there. So all calculations at a push of a button. So that course sounds awesome. And especially KDP is another one of those things, much like merch by Amazon, that seems like a very low barrier of entry. And once you kind of get the hang of it, like there's not a lot of cost involved. So investing in something like this to help you get a head start of all those other people who are getting into KDP, I think is a huge, huge win.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, if there was ever somebody that you could learn from and will really help you along the way, it's Tammie. She's just, like I mentioned in the interview, she's just so kind and giving of her time. Every time I talk to her, she's trying to connect people with other people. Even, after we got off the course or off the call, she was talking about how she had made a connection with a wedding planner that she was going to refer to us. And she actually told me that when I did, some gifts for her daughter's wedding. And she was like, I'm going to make this connection. And I think it'll be great because of this and that and this. And she's always thinking in that way. So even just to have her in your network, I think is a net gain for you. So even if you don't take the course, friend her on Facebook or find her or something, because she's a really great person and really good to have in your network for sure.
100%. So please, take advantage of that offering. Go to TammieChrin.com, figure out how to contact her, how to get, like Travis said, get her in your network, and just, you can tell that she genuinely does want to help people, and she enjoys seeing people take what she's been able to accomplish and then accomplish it themselves. So again, thank you to Tammie for coming on to the show, and everything, all the links that the TammieChrin.com, all those links, we're going to put them in the show notes as always. So you can just scroll down in the description of whatever podcast app you're listening to, and all those show notes should be there with those links. So again, thanks to Tammie for coming on the show, and thanks to all of you for listening to this episode of the Print on Demand cast. Of course, what do we tell you every week, folks? Join the Facebook group. Do you want to know why? Because it's a good way to ask questions, a good way to, if you have any insight into KDP, let us know what the biggest takeaway from this episode was. Just start a conversation, join a conversation. We're really going to focus this year in 2022 in building the community and the content around the PODcast as much as possible. And a lot of it's going to be there. And it's facebook.com/groups/print-on-demand-cast is where you can go to join the family and the community. And we'd love to have you there. If you hate social media, again, I always say, I understand. So you can email us as well. info@printondemandcast.com is a good way to communicate with Travis and myself. If you have a question and you're not doing the Facebook thing, totally get it. As always, we are always on the search for 5-star reviews. How do you do that? Well, wherever podcasts are available, the PODcast is available to you. And you can leave us reviews on Spotify, just a star rating. And on the Apple Podcast app, you can also